Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Rebecca Chow,
And I'm Pastor Bill Gepford.
and we are talking about fear.
Today we're talking about fear, which is something that I, at least growing up, at times didn't feel like I was allowed to even experience or certainly admit that I had. But I was thinking about this because about 2 weeks ago, I was back in kind of our back garden, kind of woodsy area, and I see this long black thing slither through the trees. And I don't know about you, but I don't do snakes. I don't do snakes. And I just immediately wanted to run away. It's just that my wife and my 6-year-old were right there. Oh. And my son has not figured out that snakes are scary yet. I don't know what's happening. We got to work on this. But he goes inside and he draws a picture of a mouse because he knows that snakes eat mice. And he tapes it to a stick. And he tries to feed this to a snake. And part of me is like just freaking out, like, dude, that's a snake. It was a garter snake. It's not, But I finally took the thing away from him because I was like, all right, if somebody's gonna get bit, it better be me, not that you. And just this feeling of fear the whole time, and just being gripped by like, I don't do snakes. And my head knows this thing is not dangerous, but inside I'm still feeling all of the things that we feel when we feel afraid. Tell me what that kind of looks like and what fear looks like.
See, interesting enough that you're bringing this up, because actually the purpose of fear in our life is survival. Mm-hmm. See, fear is what keeps us safe for things that can be the total death.
Right.
So when fear taps into our life and it takes over the control center, it's typically because it is already thinking about all of the things that can go wrong and can bring immediate doom. Mm-hmm. So what's important about fear is when fear kicks in, there is 2 things that come into our body. The first chemical that throws into our body is cortisol. Mm-hmm. That means it allows us to react and protect ourselves. Mm-hmm. And the second one is testosterone. Mm. So see, even for women, when there is fear, there is a surge of cortisol and a surge of testosterone. And testosterone has to do with like, I need to protect myself.
Right.
So what is important is to remember, fear was given to us for a reason. Mm-hmm. It allows to have survival, and it allows us to understand cause and effects and constant doom.
And I think we see that from a spiritual side too. The physical side of fear keeps us away from death. But I think we see in the Bible, especially I think about like Proverbs, uses all these imagery of this road leads to death. And I think we see things that spiritually destroy us, or that destroy our relationships, that destroy our families or our communities or our worlds, that are often described in ways that are, I think, fearful, or at least tied to images of fear, because it's really Scripture's way, or our spiritual lives' way of saying, hey, this leads to things that kill us inside as well. And I think that's healthy. Yes. I think it can become unhealthy when it becomes something that takes over. I think healthy fear is prudence, is saying like, that's not the way I should go. I think unhealthy fear is when we get frozen into cowardice, and we don't move forward because we can't see hope, or we can't see help. And so I think for me, like when I think about my son wanting to play with a snake, and thankfully everything's okay, but I think unhealthy fear for me would have looked like being too afraid of going to a snake myself, that I let him go do something that, well, in theory, he was probably going to be okay with a garter snake, but I don't ever want to let my son play with snakes because I'm too afraid to do something myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell us about kind of therapeutically, what are the consequences of fear out of control?
Yeah. So when we start thinking about fear overtaking, mm-hmm. right, and we are living in constant worry, and we're living in constant like, but what if this? What about that? And then fear becomes that freezing, overwhelming feeling like I cannot do anything without feeling like it's going to be constant doom. That's when we want to worry, because then fear becomes panic. Mm-hmm. Remember, we've been talking about every single feeling has a purpose. It becomes a little bit wacky once it becomes extreme. Mm-hmm. So panic shuts down part of our brains that allows us to think about resources, that allows us to reach out for help. So it's important that you remember fear is there, but don't let it turn into panic. Mm-hmm. And how can you not let it turn into panic? Is listening to it. What you did was, it's a garden snake. Mm-hmm. I am here. Mm-hmm. My wife is here. So my son is safe. It's allowing yourself not to go into panic and ground yourself into the present so you can experience it.
I like that you talk about fear makes us take our eyes off of the resources. I think about in Matthew 14 when Jesus is he's walking on water in the middle of this storm, and it's this incredible image of the disciples, or they're stuck in the middle of the lake, and they see Jesus coming, and they're so afraid. as they should be, as is natural. You know, you're in a boat in a storm, that's fearful, and then you see somebody walking on a lake, that's fearful. And then Peter says, Jesus called me out into the water. And so Peter walks onto the water, and it's this beautiful, powerful moment. But then Peter becomes afraid, and he misses that Jesus is right in front of him. And I think fear can do that to us, where we lose sight of, in this case, ultimate hope. But sometimes it's even just hope that just looks like a friend or looks like a community that's around us. And that fear isolates us. It separates us from those moments of hope. It separates us from Jesus.
Yeah. So as you tap into your fear, I want you to pause. What is fear telling me? There is a snake on the corner. Do I need to go into defense mode, or is it something that I can live with, right? You can do that by even looking around. Am I in a safe place? This is my backyard. I'm here with my wife. Finn is not too close to the snake. It's far enough. Take a deep breath. Ground yourself by understanding that it's okay. Fear is telling you something. Thank you for telling me. I honor the fear. And then tap into being able to find the resources around you.
Absolutely. I think the same thing happens from a spiritual side. Is find that community, find that group, find those people that, we're going to redo that. I had to spit, sorry. Absolutely. I think we see the same thing from a spiritual perspective. That the antidote to fear, there's a lot of things, and prayer is effective, but I think often it's community, and it's finding people, and that in them we see the image of God in their faces. We see that we're not alone, and it reminds us that God is with us in these moments too. That often it's in telling a friend, hey, I'm really afraid of this. That even before they give us advice, or even before they say anything, that sometimes that act of realizing I can confess this to another friend reminds us that we are not alone.
Yeah. So this week, give fear a big hug and tell them, I got you.
We'll see you.